finger spray. All right.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, 21 Hunting and Fishing. And this is part 4 of our Tuna in the Moon update on our data analysis following 3 big landings out of San Diego's fish counts, Seaforth, H&M, and Fisherman's Landing. This is particularly an update from data, looking at data May 1st to June 10th. And I need you to go back and watch the other parts in this series. The links are in the description. And I also created a playlist because I talk a lot about how I'm like digesting this data, and I want it to make sense to you, but I don't want to keep explaining it in every video, or else these videos just take too long and get repetitive. But basically what we're looking at is, you hear a lot of people talk about the moon cycle and the tuna bite and how the full moon impacts the tuna bite. And so you hear a lot of people say that, but I believe that if you feel or think something, there's a way to prove it with data. And the other cool thing about data is the data kind of just is what it is. Like, you really can't argue with it. You can make hypotheses and guesses on why the data is the way it is, but 1 is 1, 2 is 2, and don't try to convince me that 1 equals 2 type of thing, okay? So this is me more or less reporting on what I am seeing in the data, trying to leave any sort of emotion or anecdotal evidence or conversations out of the picture. So again, please go back and watch. I have parts 1, 2, and 3. Then there's an update. And then I also made a prediction, which I'm going to talk about to see if it actually came true during the tuna bite in May. So let's get started. All right. So again, this is from the last video, and I need you to go back and look at how I am deciding where to put these tuna. So essentially I'm looking at spikes in tuna, bluefin tuna counts. And then what I'm doing is I'm giving a tuna to the day before the new or after the new, or days before the full and after the full. So you see that tuna just popped up. So 6 days before the full moon, there was a spike in bluefin tuna action in counts. So what I do is, so as you know, so let's pretend a fish count date is May 1st. Well, those tuna weren't necessarily caught on May 1st. They were probably caught the 2 or 3 days leading up to that day, right? And so you can just tell that by the number of length, the days that these boats are out, right? So I'm primarily looking at 2 and 3 day trips to get this, but not always. But I'm not really paying tons of attention to like the long range trips on this one. So as you can see, quick review. There is, let's just build this all the way out. Okay, so far we've kind of seen that around the new moon, it's a little bit flat. Like those 3 to 6 days before the new, you kind of get steady action. Nothing on the new moon itself, but then like the 1 to 4 days after the new, there's steady action. Now, when you look at the full moon timeline, it's a little bit similar for the days before the full, right? You kind of get this like flat but yet consistent uptick days 4 to 6 before the full, and then you get this nothing days 2 or 1 before the full, and nothing 1 day after the full. But then you get this first uptick in 2 days after the full, and then you get this really big uptick that's about a week plus after the full, right? And so 8 to 9 days after the full. But you have to imagine those fish were probably caught on the 5, 6, and 7 day after the full. So in order to pragmatically use this data, look for trips that are returning on a date, because that coincides with the date of the fish report. And now, so if you have a 2 day trip 3-day trip that returns 8 days after the full. Well, you can just use your brain and figure out, okay, so I want to be on the trip that's departing on this day in order to take advantage of that. This is all to say the best time to go fishing is when you can go. I started this as a fun project, but there really does seem to be something learned from this. I'm using the San Diego FishReports.com doc totals that they have really good data. So again, there's probably like over an hour and a half plus of video you can go back and watch to see how it all resulted in this slide. So go ahead and do that as well. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so this is pretty interesting. So I predicted, based on the conclusions that I came from parts 1, 2, and 3, that these trips were going to be hot trips. Why? Because they're all returning. You can see May 20th or May 21st, but whatever they do, whenever they return, they kind of catch that sweet spot of the tuna bite that I think is going to be good. I posted this short on YouTube like over a month ago now. And I know a few days have gone by since May 20th, but hey, I'm just one guy and I only have just one keyboard, and I only have so much time to do this, but I think it's fun. Okay, so here's just the YouTube short plan. I'm not sure if you can hear what I'm saying on the short, but I'm basically just saying everything I just said. All right, so let's look at the data that you came to see. So this is BFT per angler versus the moon illumination. So just to explain the graph a little bit, on the left axis you have moon illumination percentage and BFT caught per angler. So you see the blue line is very predictable. That's the moon cycle. The moon cycle is very predictable if you didn't know this. And so you can see it kind of peaks out almost at 1. Well, that's 100%. So that full moon happened on May, like, was it May 12th or so. So this is the moon cycle. So this would be 60% illumination. I don't know if you can see my pointer, but the 0.4 would be 40%. The 0.2 would be 20%. So I think you have that down. And then what I do is I just take all the anglers and all the bluefin tuna and then just create a ratio. How many BFT caught per angler? Now, I completely recognize that there's a lot of anglers in those counts that aren't targeting bluefin tuna, but I've done it this way consistently because when you go look back at the historical data, you can't really parse it out. And as long as I kind of keep doing it this way, I have a common denominator and common yardstick that I'm using. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at the spikes, right? So we want to know when there's an increase in bluefin tuna activity. So you see these stars are, the spikes, right? So you have a first spike on May 2nd, right? So that represents a certain moon percent illumination. And then May was pretty slow, really, all the way up until, almost the third week in May, we see this first big uptick in bluefin tuna activity, and bam, that was the day that we predicted that the bluefin tuna were gonna be biting. And you don't have to believe me, but I have a video that says that you should believe me. And so that's pretty interesting, because if we can't really pragmatically apply what we're doing here, then why are we doing it anyways? So I've indicated here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spikes. And so now let's go and add to our timeline that I was just showing you and build upon what we already have created in parts 1, 2, 3. And this is just data on the spikes only. So you see the date, the percent moon illumination. So 100% illuminated would be a full moon. 0% or something very low like 1.4% is a new moon. And then you can describe that. Where is it in the moon cycle? Well, it's 5 days after new, 7 days before new, blah blah blah. And again, here's where we predicted this spike right here, the May 20th, 7 days before the new. And here's just kind of what the raw data looks like. Really hard to glean anything out of it, but in case you're wondering and really need to know, so I manually hand jam all these numbers, except for the BFT per angler. That's just this quick calculation, and then I add the totals together. So you have BFT all added from the 3 landings, and then you have the anglers all added from the 3 landings, and then I do BFT per angler, and that's what I am grafting and putting on the slide for you. I like using these 3 landings because I started to use them. The data is readily available. They're popular landings to go on tuna trips, and again, kind of sticking to what I started with, so we can continue to use the same measuring stick as we go about this fun project. So here's the slide that I started the presentation off with, and we're going to add 5 more tuna. So we have the what was that? 5 days after the new. We have 7. I know it doesn't say 7 there, but pretend 7 days before the new, 4 days before the new. Then we had one right on the new moon. Pretty cool. And then we have 3 days after new. So again, all the activity around the new moon seems to be more consistent. It's something about that full moon that makes it more feast or famine. So this could be, you could use this thought process when you're going to schedule your bluefin tuna trips into the future. So again, remember, the best time to go fishing is when you can go. I started this off as a fun project, but there does seem to be something to learn from this. San Diego Fish Reports.com is what I've been using a lot. And please comment below if you think this is cool. If you think it's stupid, I don't really care. I'm going to keep doing it because it's almost too easy to do. It just takes time hand jamming in some of that data. So remember, kill something, drag it back to your cave, and eat it. See ya.